Right. Hello, everybody. It is Tuesday night. It's cheese night, and we are talking PDO cheeses. One of the rarer PDO cheeses, Dovedale, and of course Stilton, one of the very best and well-known and globally recognised PDO cheeses. And for that reason, we have got Robert and Diana from Hartington. Welcome to Cheese Tonight, guys. So how are you? How are you faring?
We're good. We're good. Thank you.
Yep, getting busy.
Yeah, it's beginning to open up again. Are you looking at, feeling that life will return to normal?
It will be a new normal. It will be different. Things never ever go back to how they were, do they? When you've had such a shock to the system. But we've changed, we've adapted, and we'll be different as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's going to be for everyone. So let's leave COVID aside for a second, and let's give us a quick tour of the cheeses you do, so that everybody is on the same cheese board to use catchphrase. So give us the tour. You're most famous for your Stilton, which I'm very disappointed you haven't sent me any of.
We thought we'd play a game with you and send you Shropshire instead.
You have. But Stilton is your number one seller, is that right?
It is, yes.
Now, I've got a rather extraordinary camera, which makes, bizarrely, my cheese disappear. I don't know if you can see that. So I need you to hold your cheese up and show the people who are watching.
That is a Shropshire in its packaging. And miraculously, that's this piece of Shropshire which just unpacked itself.
Oh, isn't that amazing? It's almost Blue Peter here, except it's Blue Shropshire.
Get down, Shep.
So, what is your best-selling cheese? What is your range?
So we make Blue Stilton. Mm-hmm. We also make a Peakland Blue, which is similar to Stilton, slightly aged more, so it's got more of a punch. That's the Peakland White. So that's a cream white, which is quite a citrusy, salty cheese, more suited to salads. And
it's got a feta about it, doesn't it?
A feta.
Yeah, slightly.
Yeah. So it is quite good for salads, and it's good for melting on toast or oat cakes or anything like that. But yeah, it's quite a salty, citrusy, fresh cheese.
Yeah, when I opened it just smelt of clean dairy. It has that instant clean curd kind of thing.
Yeah.
It actually blends particularly well, and we've created a range of sort of blended what we call pebbles.
Vodka with orange. Yes, I was going to do that one last. I figure let's start with the vodkas.
Just to say, we're traditional and modern as well. Hartington Hottie.
Peakland white cheese with chili. So Hartington is so Peakland is made the same way as Stilton. How does it vary from Stilton?
So it's still a slow acidifier, as in it acidifies overnight, but it's not got any of the blue moulding. It's not matured as a blue cheese would be. It's quite a fresh young cheese, so it's ready to go in a couple of weeks.
What, with the blue in it?
No, the white, the crumbly one. That's the salty, fresh cheese. That's ready in a couple of weeks.
So when you mature it with the blue, you're needling it at 2 or 3 weeks, I'm assuming. And
if it's a blue cheese, it's got the blue moulding, and it's pierced at 5 and 6 weeks old. So we pierce it twice. It's sealed. The edges are sealed as you would do with a Stilton. So that in effect stops any of the air getting in to start the mold growth, and then we control the mold when we want it to grow by piercing it at 5 weeks.
And when is it ready? Sort of the 9 weeks.
Round about 10, 11 weeks for a Peakland Blue. Our Stilton is ready 8 to 9 weeks, and the Shropshire is ready sort of 9 weeks as well.
Okay.
So it's not like a cheddar that's sat on the shelves for 12 months.
No. So you've got 4 blue cheeses. You've got Peakland Blue, you've got a Shropshire Blue, you've got a Stilton, and you've got the Dovedale, which
so the Dovedale is a completely different make.
Mm-hmm.
But the way Diana makes the Stilton, the Shropshire, they're probably slightly creamier than some of the other Stilton makers. We follow the strict PDO rules, but we try to differentiate by making them slightly smooth, slightly creamier, slightly buttery,
and not quite as strong.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm getting it now. It's nice. It's got you press it against the top of your palate, and it's got a it's very elastic. Elastic, I don't know if that's the right word, but it's got a smooth pulp to it that is very easy.
Almost, if you get on the top of it, it melts in your mouth almost.
Mm-hmm. It's melting right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, excellent. You know, we got to try to be different to be noticed, and you know, it's pointless us trying to make a really strong Stilton. So we're making something that may appeal to younger people.
So in Stilton land, you've got the Long Clawsons and the Tuxtons and Tebbets, who are
the big boys.
Yeah. And then you've got your Cropwells and your Colstons, who are, and then you've got you guys. I mean, is that a fair approximation?
I'd say that's very fair. Yeah.
So how many Stiltons would you be making a day or a week?
So we make round about 80 a day. So we're on a very small scale compared to anybody else. And we can only manufacture 4 days a week.
Okay.
Due to space, and all our process is done in one vat. So there's very little movement of any curd, which is good for Stilton. You know, you don't want to be bashing it around or anything. So that limits us as to how much we can make. And space. We don't have the space.
So you have one big square vat, round vat?
It's a square vat.
It's a square vat. And you drain the curd into the vat and let the curd set there, because someone like Colston Bassett would lay it out on a table in a different vat.
Yes.
Yep.
And as it's sitting there, you're letting it. So how long do you let it sit, the Stilton acidify for?
So it's overnight. So it's left to drain overnight, which is approximately about 12 hours from finishing one part of the process until the following morning. And then we check the acidity to make sure that it's ready. Then it's cut and allowed to drain a little bit more. When it's ready, then it's salted. It's salted over 4 occasions to try and get even distribution. Then it's put through a mill, which sort of creates walnut-sized pieces, and then put into the hoops. There's no pressure applied, because part of the PDO is that you can't apply any pressing at all. So it's allowed to settle under its own weight. I mean, the Stilton hoops are a specific size to allow you to fill them up so you get the perfect size, and then it's put into a temperature and humidity controlled environment and turned on a daily basis to ensure even distribution of the moisture.
I'm just going to sort of fill in, just in case anyone watching is not familiar with what a PDO is. Product of designated origin, a European structure for allowing a community to sort of own a brand or a style rather than an individual or a business. And each PDO comes with its own set of rules. And to make the PDO, the cheese, could be a cheese, could be a drink, could be all sorts of PDOs. You have to abide by the rules. And one of those rules is how it's made, or some of the rules, but also where the milk can come from. And that for Stilton is Derbyshire, Leicestershire, and Nottinghamshire.
Yes, yeah.
But you're the only Derbyshire one.
We are the only Derbyshire Stilton maker.
And does that make it taste any different? Our grass tastes far better than the grass from Leicestershire. Of course it does.
Of course it does.
Peak District limestone plateaus are synonymous for grazing dairy cows.
So do you go big serious way? Do you think you can taste the difference in the milk?
At certain times of the year, yes, you can.
And you think
start to grass in the spring, the cheese will taste slightly differently to when this time of year when the cows are housed on a winter diet.
So if you've got a 3-month cheese, you would say you get your peak Derbyshire distinctiveness in sort of June or July then?
Yes.
Well, there you go. That's it for everyone, right? We must all go in 3 months on a Stilton party in Derbyshire. That's what we're going to do. So that's your Stilton cheese, which, you know, you've got your variation on what is, if I can be honest, a sort of well-trod path, one of the most established cheeses in the country. But let's go to the other end of the spectrum with the Dovedale. So people may not know that Dovedale is a PDO cheese, a protected designated of origin cheese. But it's had a bit of a checkered history. Do you want to sort of fill me in?
So Dovedale was made, it was developed in the 80s by a team of cheesemakers that were based at the Dove Dairy in Hartington. And it was developed as a slight continental style, softer blue cheese, which was sort of new to the British market, I suppose. And it was made in Hartington from that time until the dairy closed in 2009, when it was ceased to be made. And we had every intention of sort of resurrecting it. And we started to produce it again in 2016 in very small quantities. We only make it in 100-litre batches, which gives us round about 5 cheese. So in a day, we'll be able to make sort of 8 batches. So we can only make 40 of the cheese a day, and they're little over 2 kilos. So it is on a small scale, but because it's a soft cheese, it's far more time critical with the acidity, which is why we can only make it in such small batches.
So let's look at the history of Dovedale. So 2000, when you say it was first made, 2000
It was made in the 80s.
Sorry, 80s, that's right. So it's actually only 40 years old.
Yes. It's quite...
So, to ask a sort of rude question, how is it allowed to have a PDO if it's only 40 years old?
The PDO was applied for by Dove Dairy in Hartington, and it was very much to do with the area that the milk came from. So at the time, it was within 12 miles of Dovedale, and very much based on the experience of blue cheese makers from the dairy, of which we have some of those cheese makers now still. So we've got years and years of knowledge of the Dovedale make, really.
Because it is quite different in character to, well, almost anything else in the UK, let alone in Derbyshire. So you've got a rind a paste that's about that thick, not the tall Stilton cheeses, and you are encouraging an outer rind maturing through what looks to me like Penicillium Roqueforti or something like that.
It is, yes.
Yeah. So you're deliberately encouraging that outside to get a bit of creaminess just kicking off under the skin. And I'm imagining that this feels to me like sort of a mid-ripeness one, but I imagine that goes quite yellow, quite creamy, quite sort of buttery by the time.
I'm gonna show you one that's
an older one.
That's more mature.
Oh yeah, you see there he is. We're going with that deep, dark sort of bottom of the ocean blue with the creamy yellow in between.
But it still got the rind on.
Yeah. Yeah. Has that one does that lose quite a lot of moisture during the maturation?
It does, yes, but because it's nothing like the Stilton would do.
Okay.
Because it's a softer cheese, it still retains quite a lot of moisture.
Right. It's got a real sense of, there's a real difference between that softer cheese just under the rind and the slightly firmer cheese towards the centre.
Yes. But as it ages, it breaks down, the curd breaks down even more. And as the blue mold develops, it breaks down the curd even more. So the cheeses can be ready to go in sort of 4 weeks, but it'll be a totally different cheese at 8 weeks. And that's customer specific on what people want, really. we tend to find that now people prefer a younger cheese that hasn't got that blue punch to it. But the Dovedale, as it matures, gets quite a strong blue flavour towards the end of its life, as the one Robert's just shown you.
Oh, I'd love to do a tasting of sort of 2 or 3 ages of it. It feels like it's going to transition quite significantly in those 3 to 4 weeks, kind of thing. And so, I mean, it is an interesting question. So what we're protecting through that PDO is not so much the history of a cheese, but a history of cheese making, that sort of heritage of those styles.
Yes, it is.
So interesting. So interesting. And you the only people making Dovedale at the moment?
It is made at another place that's actually over the border in Staffordshire.
Oh, Staffordshire. Sounds evil. But that's it, is it? So, because it's not widely available. I don't often see it at all.
No.
Oh, that's interesting. So you've got these 2 classics. Then you've obviously jumped on the Stilton bandwagon of thinking Shropshire Blue is the answer. It's a lovely companion to Stilton. Sort of, if you don't like Stilton, you'll like Shropshire Blue, kind of thing. So why did you take this on? Is this something that just was requested by customers, or do you like it yourself? I imagine it's
again, because we're small, it fits for us to do sort of relatively small sort of production runs, and some of the bigger dairy creameries wouldn't want to do small production cheeses. So it does fit with our sort of ethos, really, to have more smaller customers with specific demands, really. And Shropshire's one of those that does sort of fit. Not a lot of people make Shropshire Blue, so that's helped us gain sort of market share and allowed us to get other cheeses into those same customers as well.
Is it made exactly the same way as your Stilton with the annatto, or do you have any variations on it?
There's a slight variation with the ingredients, but essentially the make is the make.
What's the slight variation?
I can't give away my secrets.
Oh,
there's a mute button somewhere here.
Yeah, no, it's just between us 3. No one ever watches this. Is the milk secretly from Staffordshire? Is that what it's about, you see, and you don't want to admit it?
No, it's we wouldn't want to give our secrets away, would we, really?
Okay. The texture of the Shropshire Blue is quite distinct to other cheeses. It's got much more of a it doesn't have any crumbly, well, not the piece I have anyway, has any crumbliness to it. It's a completely a soft paste, except it's not that soft. It's a firm paste is probably a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
It's quite buttery and very, very creamy, but you've still got that blue cheese flavour to it.
Yeah, it's funny, when we were working with the Academy, or when I was working with the Academy, trying to find a flavour for blue cheese, we couldn't come up with one. It's blue. It tastes of that kind of spicy, musty, sort of punchiness as you described it, and it's difficult to find a sort of way of breaking it out. So that's your range of blues. Now but you then go on to have your own brand, which is the Peakland, which is the other end of the spectrum, rather than part of a community of cheeses that has a wider number of makers across the country. You've got something that's wholly your own.
Yeah, I mean, the reason, bearing in mind the creamery here was sort of built in some old barns and buildings on the farm in 2011. Started to make cheese in October 2012. Well, you'll understand that we hadn't got a PDO to make blue Stilton or white Stilton. You have to go through a process which takes quite a lot of time to get accredited by the Stilton Makers Association.
It took us 2 years to get the accreditation.
So you have to have something to sell.
Yeah,
and Peakland Blue, Peakland White were 2 cheeses that that we created ourselves and made, so we'd actually got some income.
And you've continued with them, so obviously they've been successful for you,
particularly locally, with the tourism around Hartington. People want a local cheese. So the Peakland Blue and Peakland White work really well for that.
It sells very well in places like Chatsworth Farm Shop. You know, the historic association with Chatsworth. Lots of other sort of local delis, shops. You know, people, tourists, they're looking for something local, something to, you know, some of the history and some of the, you know, some nice food as well. So it was an easy win for us to begin with, really.
Well, that's essential. I mean, we see that in a number of cheesemakers is that their local community, maybe not so much the local community, the people who come into the locality really want to taste the cheese of that area and sort of pick up a sort of local cuisine vibe thing.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing. Now you've got the Peakland Blue and the Peakland White and the Peakland Cracked Black Pepper and the Peakland Hottie and the Peakland and this the vodka one that I'm tucking into now. It's not going to get me drunk. I know that's a silly question, but you know I'm just going to check.
Yeah, this the one.
Mm-hmm. You haven't waxed these. Would you consider doing them?
Well, again, you know, just for the same reason that we're not trying to make a Stilton the same as Clawson, Tuxford, Cropwell or Colston.
Yeah.
We're not trying to make a blended cheese the same as everybody else who makes wax truckles. So, you know, we're trying to be different and, you know, sort of packing them in something where you can see the cheese. It's slightly softer than quite a lot of the wax truckles. And just a point of difference, really.
I can see that people like the cheese.
That's the main difference.
Mm-hmm. Those wax truckles, though, very practical.
Yeah.
Easy brand, travel easily. You can see why they all do it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is still using very fresh Peakland White.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a couple of weeks old. So you still have that real cheese flavour, whereas sometimes if it's in the wax truckle it can be months old and you kind of lose the cheese.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
Yeah, that's definitely a sin often leveled at many wax cheeses, is what any blended cheeses, not necessarily wax cheese, blended cheese, where the flavour is that much more of the additive than it is of the cheese itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, with the vodka and orange, you can still taste the Peakland White. You get the bitterness of the orange and the vodka, but you can still taste the fresh saltiness and the curd of the white, with it being such a fresh cheese.
What we tried to do is sort of pick flavours which additives which go with the cheese as well, rather than just picking a popular flavour.
Yeah, no, you've. I mean, everyone does a chili, but going with vodka and orange, these are departures from standard.
We actually made a chocolate and chili one.
Oh, you see, you're going to offend some of those. And
it was. I love it with ice cream. It shouldn't be right, but it's one of those. It's a bit of a Marmite thing. Love or hate.
I'm with you, Robert. I'm not that I've tried it with ice cream, to be honest, but I'm not a fan of telling people what they should do in their own home. If you sort of mean, if you want to have chocolate, chili, cheese with ice cream, you go right ahead. That's what being in a liberal democracy is all about. That we have cheese with the chocolate and all that, and no one can stop us.
The saltiness in the cheese with the chocolate kind of sort of works quite well together.
Right, I've got some question here from Claire L. I don't know if I know you, Claire L. What breed of cows do you have? Because I understand you have
Frisian cows.
So the sheep, so the ships of the field, the black and whites.
Yeah.
Now you have your own farm as well as your creamery, and your creamery is on your farm, and you are working towards using your own milk, but you're not doing it yet. Is that right?
No, the plan was last year we were going to start from sort of middle of the summer, but then because of COVID and we lost about 80% of our business in March with hotels, so hospitality, local businesses closing, under the restrictions. So everybody would have heard of the horror stories of low milk prices last spring. And if we'd ended up selling quite a lot of milk on the distress market, that would have been pretty catastrophic for us. So at the moment, we're sort of building ourselves back up again, and the plan is as soon as we possibly can to take all the milk off the farm.
Yeah, this is not the year to be taking sort of substantial risks unless you have to, really, is it?
No, we've had lots of financial sort of blows to deal with, and that we didn't really need another one, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I think that me, everyone watching, and the whole cheese community is just going to breathe one sigh of relief if people like yourself can make it through. No one's asking for big statements of providence and all that right now. We just want to party in the summer. That's the outcome we're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, the milk comes from a dairy farm 2 miles down the road. Essentially it's the same milk, really, just off this particular farm.
So I mean, we have some chats in Cheeseland about whether the transportation of the milk, or to be honest, the bumbling down the road changes the flavor of the milk, whether that sort of shake changes it, and bringing it across just literally from a milking parlor across the yard makes a difference. Do you sort of have a view on that?
Our milk only travels around about a mile down the road. So for us, it's not really got time to shake about.
Tom Calver of Westcombe once said to me that he can tell who drives the tractor from the taste of the milk, from the dairy from the milking parlor to the dairy, because the shaking of the milk affects it. Now, I think that's just one of those things people say when they're in their cups. Bluntly, I'm very much surprised if you can actually put it off. But I'm interested. People also say about goat's milk is particularly vulnerable to aggressive treatment, if you kind of thing. So it'd be interesting to see if and when you do bring the cheese making from your own herd, whether you get a flavor difference.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the way you handle the curd, that is absolutely critical, isn't it, to the flavour of the cheese and the texture and everything like that. But not had any experience with the handling and moving the milk around, really.
Well, there you go. You can find out. We will find out when you get to it. So hopefully this summer, but it'll be sort of next summer, if not, kind of thing. That's the plan.
Yeah. Hope so. Yeah.
Well, that'd be so exciting. The idea of the milk coming from the farmer in Stilton land, which will make you the only on-farm Stilton maker, fermier, to use the French term, in the world.
Correct.
Yes.
We will be even more unique.
Even more unique. My dad wouldn't have liked that. You're unique or you're not. And I think you're qualified. Guys, it's been fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on Tuesday Night Cheese Night with the Academy of Cheese. And absolutely best of luck coming out of COVID.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Really appreciate that.
It's been a pleasure. So goodbye from me. Goodbye from everybody who's watching. And so everyone wave. And for those fans of Tuesday Night, we'll be back in 2 weeks. And eat more cheese. That's the answer. Eat more British cheese. Eat more British cheese. Oh, yeah, I should probably say that. British Cheese Weekender is back. The dates are the 20th. Are you involved, guys? We are, absolutely, yes. What are you doing for British Cheese Weekender? This is exciting. Jeremy Bone, who's part of our team, will be telling us all about it tomorrow. In that consultative way that he does, that ends up doing exactly what he tells you, kind of way. Is that what? We know Jeremy. We love Jeremy. All right, well, brilliant. Bring on British Cheese Weekend. That'll be next month. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Thank you.